Record. Right, good morning, all, and welcome along to the Life Remixed and Equilibria leadership session. Great to see you all here live. Fantastic. We're on now week three, and this week we're going to look at overcoming doubts, fears, worries, some subconscious beliefs that can tend to hold us back from time to time. So without further ado, I shall share the screen. Emma is using the chat box there as well. Please feel free to also do so. A few more people arriving. There we go. Excellent, excellent. So we are recording and I am sharing the screen. Good. So here we go. Play from the start. All my slides are nice and ready. So session 3 today. Great for you guys to be here live, and hi to everybody watching back as well. We're going to overcome fear. We're going to build belief, confidence, and growth. And we're going to talk about this together. Use the chat box, or indeed do share if you would like to speak up and share certain things. Please do use the chat box there. We've got Australia, Jane in Australia saying hi. Emma from Surrey, of course. It's probably in the downstairs office somewhere. And Paul in Thailand. Yes, excellent as well. Paul Grant and Paul Davis both in Thailand. So excellent. Lewis from Spain as well. So let's overcome fear. Let's talk about this together. It's a big subject and it's very, very important because a lot of negative emotion, fear and anger, can really hold us back. There's lots of other negative emotions, but those are generally the two that can get us the worst, shall we say. So we need to understand this, particularly if we're going to be in leadership roles, management roles, or indeed just improving ourselves, improving our entrepreneurial skills, or whatever we're doing in business. We must overcome fear, and it can really hold us back. Bob Proctor, one of my early mentors many years ago, said, "Fear will stop you faster than a speeding bullet." And he was right. I had to overcome my own fears on my own journey, which is a lot about what I've written about in Life Remixed as well. So please do rename yourselves if you get the chance. Just rename myself. Hover over the 3 buttons. You can rename yourself and put your e-colors if you know them. Mine are yellow over red. So there you go. You can see I've now renamed myself. Feel free to rename yourself as well. Please manage your microphone as well. If you can put your webcam on, please do, because I'd love to see your face. Use your headphones if you need to. Use the chat box there. It's great. And contribute any thoughts, feelings, and ideas as we go through. That will be absolutely wonderful. So, you know who Emma and I are by now, but we'll keep just introducing ourselves for new starters and new people that sign up week on week. I'm an e-colors coach. My e-colors are predominantly yellow over red. I'm a success coach and a best-selling author, and also a chartered member of Irish and a fellow of the Institute of Leadership as well. So everything I do is leadership accredited. Emma is an event director, e-colors practitioner. Her e-colors are green over blue. And she's here today on the call, helping out as she always does. So the e-colors concept, just to remind us all, we all have different personality diversity percentages within us. And you find that out by answering the questions. It takes about 15 minutes. And you can find out your top 2 e-colors completely for free. If you decide to upgrade, you can use the code LifeRemix Premium to get your 33-page premium report. And it's a piece of gold dust, actually, when you start to understand your premium report. But we all sit in these areas just in different times and different places, etc. But our percentage will differ based on our answers and who we are, basically. So we'll talk about this more as we go through. We also need to understand that the red part of us wants to know what we're doing and when are we doing it by. The yellow part of us wants to know who's involved, and generally, as yellows, can we be involved? Greens, how are we going to do something? And blues, why? Why are we doing something? And we'll all have these and we'll all go to them at different times. I think it's very important as well to, on this session particularly, because I'm going to talk about some fear and statistics, the things that we've asked questions of people recently. Red greens and green reds will be more independent, okay? More comfortable working independently. Whereas yellow blues and blue yellows will be more interdependent, okay? That's a really big thing when we start to look at the fear question that we've asked and posed to a few hundred people recently. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. If you don't know your e-colors, you can look at this, strengths, and you can start to see where you would sit, okay? I look at the yellow list, ta-da, yeah, I'm all of those. I'm sure Emma, if she looks at the green list, she's all of those. But we all have different top colors, and we all can recognize ourselves and indeed potentially other people we're working with as well, without guessing, without going against any of our ethics or anything like that. You can just start to look for indicators with people, so you start to really understand yourself and others. And when you do that, it starts to take away fear. Because once you start to understand yourself and other people, you can start to remove fear. I used to have quite a few fears of working with other people. And quite often, with my e-colors, when I started this 15 years ago as yellow blue, I quite often had problems with people that were red green and green red. I couldn't work them out. I couldn't seem to work with them. It was really difficult for me. And I would say, if I look on the other, if I put the boot on the other foot, it was probably very difficult for them working with me as well, because we just didn't really click. We didn't really understand each other. And that's what e-color started to give me when I started to understand the strengths of each personality quadrant for each person. We also have to face our potential limiters. I don't particularly love all my yellow potential limiters there, but there are a few that are very relevant. And I work on managing them as much as I possibly can. But the key to this is for us to really start to appreciate that we all have strengths, we all have potential limiters. And in coaching, it's very important to help us move to just living in our strengths and not living in our potential limiters. That takes long and patient effort and self-control. You can find out your premium report nice and quickly, nice and easily, but actually there's still a lot of work to do once you've found out your premium report. And that's why we're doing these weekly sessions every week, just to show people, engage people, and then let you guys obviously make up your own minds in how you move forward. There's my percentages. There's Emma's percentages that I often show. You can see my big sunny 40% yellow disposition, and also my slightly limited, potentially limited green 9%. Whereas Emma, 43% green, very strong in the area where I have a limitation. And my yellow is obviously a lot higher than Emma's. But we all have these things within us, and it's important to find out your perspective, who you are. You'll also notice our red doer is identical and our empathy blue is very similar. And that means there's a lot of things that bind Emma and us together, and a lot of things that we work on together in order to grow and support one another. As I said, everything I do is Institute of Leadership approved, and lots of coaching and public speaking and training. I also want to thank Duncan. I think Duncan's been in the chat box there as well. But Duncan, I hope your son is okay. I want to thank Duncan for sending this last week. Last week we looked at gratitude, and gratitude is a really big thing in people's lives. It is the antidote to a lot of these potential limiters and a lot of these things that start to hold us back. And so I just want to say thank you to Duncan for sending this, and we did share it online and lots of people loved it. So very, very good, Duncan. Very good, creative. And Duncan's yellow over blue, and a very creative, clearly, and he came up with that one. So things to master, things that we like to talk about. Who you are, know your e-colors, right? If you know your e-colors, you're in a really, really good, strong, foundational position of understanding yourself and self-awareness. The attitude of gratitude we spoke about last week is key. Be grateful for all things, all people, all times. Even if your current belief system says that actually this doesn't feel good or doesn't feel right, you can still flip it to gratitude, as in, what can I learn from this? For me, it was like, what can I learn, or how can I learn to interact with green reds and red greens in a way that satisfies both of us in the communication stakes? It's very, very important to understand this. Belief and confidence, we're going to look at more today. Next week, we're going into purpose, vision, and goals. And then we'll continue through with positive mental attitude. We're going to look a lot at leadership and teamwork. We've got a few weeks of sessions on leadership and teamwork. And ultimately, money, growth, depending what you want to do, however you want to achieve. But you'll see that that's the last thing, because actually you don't get to those areas until you really deal with a lot of these other potential limiters or issues that we might have or might not have thought about. So today we need to talk about managing fear. Okay, where are you? Okay, very, very important to understand where you are as far as managing fear goes. So one of the big things I do with coaching clients in a one-to-one, once they've completed their e-colors questionnaire as well, is finding out where they are, and we call this the fulfillment grid. I believe it's online. We can absolutely send it out to you afterwards. I think it's worth having and it's worth filling out because actually, quite often, people will look at each of these boxes and they've got a few that are empty, as in they're not actually doing something about each of these areas. So, as an example, let's think about someone who is a quote unquote workaholic. Yeah, career. They put everything into this career box. You know, they sacrifice relationship. They don't do a lot of personal growth. They don't cover a lot of these other areas. And they literally just put everything into that career box. And then what happens when they get sacked or the company fails or something goes down, something doesn't work out? This box goes empty, and the rest of their life they feel empty. They don't feel fulfilled. You might say the same thing about relationships. You might know people, or you might have done it yourselves, but you put everything into the relationship box. You put all your effort and all your energy into it, and then for some reason that relationship ends, and then all of a sudden you're left with a big empty feeling. Again, that's not how you're meant to feel. It's not how life is meant to be. So actually, one of the key things here is understanding what you're going to put in each of these boxes. So if you can fill out each of these boxes with something where you are, and then where you would like to be, uh, in order to create something new, a more fulfilled existence, I think it's very, very important to start to understand where you are right now. There is not literally, I can say this, it's very easy to say, there's nothing to fear. There's absolutely nothing to fear. However, we have a lot of these irrational fears that have been implanted into our subconscious from a very early age. So I will send this out to you afterwards, but I would love you to take it, fill it out, think about your life, think about where you are, and think about what you can actually do if you've got a gap where you actually, well, I'm not seeing enough of my friends. Okay, what am I going to do about that? You know, I'll get a few tickets to Chelsea, perhaps. But actually, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to have a look at this and go, yeah, okay, I can see where maybe I'm not doing enough with community or charity. Maybe I'm not doing enough around that, and perhaps that's an area where I'd like to do a bit more. As an example, very, very important. It's important in the 12 months to remix your life coaching. And I can quite often bring people back to it, where they were, maybe when they started, and then where they would pick up from and where we can improve. If you can, and I can confidently say with all of these 9 boxes, I have something good going on. Whereas before, when I was a lot younger, I didn't. I put everything into my music career and sacrificed lots of other things, and then felt unfulfilled, which ultimately led to a lot of fears. So we're going to talk about creating belief as well. Okay, as we grow, we're going to build belief and confidence. We want to build through taking action. Okay, dipping into that red part of ourselves, that red E color, the doer, building through taking action, because a lot of that time that can alleviate fear. And we do build belief as human beings by seeing results. When we do something and we see a result, we go, okay, well, we believe that, so that works, so I'll keep doing it. But if we work that way, in the physical world, when something starts to go wrong, we might back away from it, and that's why a lot of people's results will be up, down, up, down, up, down, without actually being on a continuous, upward journey. See, as human beings, we also have the ability to build a vision and create a belief in our mind, okay, before we see it in the material world. And if you actually track back through your life, as I have done, you will actually see and start to understand that you believed something about yourself or about another human or whatever it was, about something you could do or not do. You believed it first, and then the action happened after that. So actually, rather than seeing is believing, let's change it around to believing is seeing. So believe in yourself first, believe in what you would like to achieve first, and then you will start to see it in your material world. Now, some people, more cynical people potentially, or people with doubts and fears and worries, will go, "Well, that's not true." Okay, well, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." So I'm not here to persuade anyone. I'm here to share my experience, and I want you guys to share your experiences about when you believe something and then it turns up in your life, you actually start to see it occur. It's actually how I became resident DJ at Ministry of Sound. It's how I had a top 10 hit with Lou Reed and David Bowie, because I just believed in myself first. And then I saw it and it turned up in my life, which is really important. Now, I know I showed this to you last week. I can't get enough of this graphic. It needs to be seen and be seen many, many times as we go through these sessions. Because if you're living on the left-hand side of this graphic, there you may well struggle to believe. You may well struggle to believe, achieve, get where you want to get to in this life. If you're on the left-hand side, worry, doubt, fear, and then down, down, down into suppressing anxiety, into depression, and then potentially even a dis-ease. Okay. You can't go there. Okay. Or if you do go there, it's a lesson for you to be able to leverage yourself back out of it. The key to everything is understand yourself, understand how your mind works, understand how to go to the mental gym and create belief. You don't just walk around and it just happens. It's not, if I could walk around and just get a super fit body by not going to the gym, that would be great. But it's not going to happen. Ultimately, I must go to the gym or run or cycle or whatever it is I'm going to do. I must do these things in order to become fit in my body and be able to live a long, happy life. Well, the mind is exactly the same. The mind is the gym. You must go and work it, you know. In this case, the mind is a garden. You must plant the right seeds in the garden. The challenge is that lots of negative things have got stuck in our subconscious mind over the years. And if you look at the 24-hour news, or I mean, it's literally just pumped full of negativity. And all of that sits into our subconscious. So you have a personal responsibility in order to protect that with getting knowledge and understanding and positive energy in. And that's why we're doing these calls, because these are strategies and things that work for me. I know they work for 90 plus coaching clients globally, and they'll definitely work for you. You just got to choose to make it happen. Ultimately, what I want for you is well-being, you able to express yourself without fear, being at ease, and actually creating a wonderful, wonderful life. It's possible. It does take time and effort. Let's be clear on that. Very, very important. Because when people say, think positive, think positive. Okay, great. Yeah, think positive. Well, you know, it's not easy, especially if we're full of those negative beliefs or negative emotions that maybe we've been brought up with, or that things that we believe to be true that perhaps are not true. And we need to really self-reflect. Self-awareness is e-colors, self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-development. All of these things, thinking positive is all very well. I hear people say it all the time, think positive, and they're right. But very often you've got to take those weeds out of that garden before you can actually start to really plant positive seeds and start to think positive. Your subconscious mind, as shown in the last graphic, will always try and drag you back because it's kept you safe up to this point. And actually, what we need to do is understand that, yes, okay, we're safe. Great. Let's celebrate that. Are we as successful as we would like to be? If the answer is no, then we might still have something that's holding us back. And therefore, we've got to keep working. And the question then would be, how much working are you doing? These weekly sessions, of course, I hope are helpful, but read all these books. You know, go to Mark Wilkinson Official and go to the recommended reading section, and read books, study, listen to audio books. I was recording my new audio book yesterday, my co-write with Paul Grant from Equilibria. So I look forward to sharing that with you early in 2025 as well. Now, in his book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill spoke about 6 basic fears that can prevent people from reaching their full potential. Think about Equilibria and e-colors and Life Remixed coaching. It's about realizing your full potential. These fears can prevent you from reaching your full potential. They are poverty, which most people suffer from, which stops them taking action. Criticism, other people criticizing them, or indeed them criticizing themselves. Ill health, obviously, something that people can worry about from time to time. A loss of love, a fear of old age, and a fear of death. Those are the 6 major ones. There's lots of others that would fit under these banners, but actually these 6 major fears are things that can really hold a human being back. And we've got to understand that. We can understand it, then we can do something about it. That's the key. Here's a big one. Successful people are aware of and manage these fears. You must be able to imagine yourself living without fear, right? Hold the vision. Close your eyes. Think about the vision of you. What do you look like living without fear? My biggest fear was public speaking. So I put on a big Life Remixed event when I put the book out nearly 4 years ago now. 150 people showed up, and I spoke for 8 hours. That was facing fears. Successful people are aware of these fears, and they manage them. For me, that fear of public speaking actually came in that fear of criticism, which is very, very important to understand. I've got past that now. If you like me, great. If you don't like me, I'm going to live with it. It's fine. So let's talk about these a bit more. The fear of criticism. It's easy to say. Stop worrying about what others think of you and view yourself accurately. Yep, great. Tick, move on. Doesn't work like that, does it? But actually, that's the statement. Stop worrying about what others think of you and view yourself accurately. Look yourself in the mirror. Realize that there is not another human being that looks like you, sounds like you, it might have your name, but doesn't look like you, doesn't sound like you, doesn't think like you, doesn't feel like you. And therefore, you are completely unique. So stop worrying about what others think of you and view yourself accurately. And it's a very important thing we do in coaching. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of sessions sometimes to get these places, to get this person or these people past a fear of other people criticizing. That fear of ill health, simple advice, but take care of your health by eating well, drinking enough water, and that's quite a lot of water per day. Getting enough sunlight. Yeah, it's very grey here at the moment, but it's what holidays are for. And exercising. Get lots and lots of energy and oxygen into your body by exercising. So Frankie and I will go for a walk after this, and I'll find myself on my exercise bike for 30 minutes later as well. Just keep moving, because you need to take care of your health to be effective. The fear of loss of love. A lot of people feel that. Love yourself is the key. Value the people in your life who love you, but love yourself. Now, my definition of love, thank you to my mother, is actually total acceptance. Accepting yourself is absolutely key. Once you start to accept yourself and your inner voice starts to be kind to yourself, all of a sudden, it takes a lot of fear away from about other people as well. Again, tough work, but worth doing, I promise you. A fear of getting old. Accept that old age is a blessing and brings with it wisdom, self-control, and understanding. My uncle often says at the end of his emails, do not regret getting older. It is a privilege denied to many. That's a great quote. Bob Proctor, one of my mentors, lived to 90 years of age and was coaching pretty much until 2 weeks before he passed. And Lewis Senior's on this call, and Lewis would say exactly the same about himself, being the young spring chicken that he is. But ultimately, don't regret getting old. It's a privilege denied to many, many, many people. So let's enjoy it and take each day as it comes. Now, we've also done an e-colours survey of fear. 700 people so far we've asked who've completed the e-colours questionnaire. This is just literally in the last couple of weeks. People that have completed the e-colours questionnaire, and we've asked them at the end of the questionnaire, what are your biggest fears? And we're starting to see a little bit of a trend. Now, I'm going to explain this to you, but I just wanted you to sort of see it. So the questions we asked people were the fear of being criticised, the fear of being wrong, the fear of not being liked, or the fear of upsetting people. And it started to show some rather interesting trends as we go through this. The blue relators, 33% of the top answers are all around their interaction with people in terms of upsetting people. So blues generally start to show a bigger trend of fear of upsetting other people. The top color blue likes harmony, as shown in the brain strengths when we show that screen. Interesting to start to observe that about the blues upsetting people is their biggest fear, clearly from the numbers that are shown. The green thinker, 40% of their responses is very much driven by themselves in terms of not being wrong. It's more about how they are perceived by others than how they interact with others. The top color green can be very critical at times. So on the other side, they do not like to be wrong also. So these are starting to show something which I'll talk about in a couple of slides' time, that we can start to understand about the e-colours and about different fears. Red doers, 38% of their response is very much driven by themselves in terms of not being wrong. It's more about how they're perceived by others and how they interact with others. Generally, top colour reds do not like to be wrong because they're in do mode, action mode, go, 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 and they don't want to be wrong about that. That would be a difficult thing for a red. straight off the bat, of course. Through coaching, a top color red can start to understand that, as we all can, blues, greens, yellows, etc. The yellow socializers, the top two answers of 55%, are all around their interaction with other people, because yellow's a big socializer in terms of not being liked or or upsetting people. When I was younger, I wanted everyone to like me, better still love me. Not possible. But very interesting that I didn't like upsetting people either. The top color yellow loves to interact with people, so something that prevents this interaction is often considered a fear. So if we summarize so far from 700 answers from the top colors, reds and greens, we're starting to see a pattern emerging of independent answers. So it's more about their independence. Yeah, where yellows and blues are seeing a more pattern of interdependent. So the interdependent fears of not being liked and upsetting people would seem to sit more with yellow blue, where the more independent fear of being criticized or being wrong, the more independent side of things would look at more green and red, red and green. And again, it's not an exact science yet. We're just starting to understand this and ask people more questions. And one of the other big things as well is that actually the personality and character that we spoke about in the first session, and the difference between that of a human being, is a lot of our fears can sit in our character. They can sit deep in our character from when we were programmed as little boys and little girls or little people. So ultimately, it's very, very important that we start to gather more data on this. But again, it's an interesting piece of work. And I said to you on one of the earlier calls, if you've got a question you'd like us to ask people, let us know and we'll do that. Because we're on a mission to help as many people as possible with their self-awareness. Here's the key. Getting out of your own way and changing your beliefs takes time, takes a lot of time. It took me a few years of therapy, a few years of coaching, but it was worth every single penny that I invested in myself, because it meant I can be this guy without any of the challenges and drama. Your belief systems can be very, very deep rooted in you. 20, 30, 40, 50 years of beliefs that you've built up. And until they're challenged, you might just keep holding on to them. But the good question to ask yourself is, where does this belief come from? And be kind to yourself on this journey. Yeah, do not beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself on this journey. It's such an important thing. That inner voice is something that is a game changer when you start to get your inner voice to be kind to yourself around this. You start to then be kinder to other people as well. So let's take the fear of other people away. Yellow, blues, blue, yellows might have more of a fear of other people in that interdependent, but let's understand other people. If I put this on the screen now, look at your communication style. Think about your top two colors. Think about your yellow, red, or green or blue. Look at some of the things that are in here. Maybe pick a couple of out and put them into the chat box that really sort of speak to you. You can start to think about yourselves, maybe other people around you as well. Start to observe them. But let's take the fear of other people away. Everyone is different, personality and character, as we say. But if we start to look at these indicators, we start to understand the different people that we're working with day by day. If we look at I'm looking at the last bullet point. The last bullet point, top color red, could become impatient if people spend too long getting to the point, which is something that I might do as a yellow. Yellow, spontaneous and at ease in front of groups of people. Hello, that's what we're doing today, and we're looking forward to live events again as well in 2025. Greens tend to ask lots and lots of questions, and blues might become agitated if there's confrontation because they don't like it. But you start to observe this very, very interestingly. Steve Whiteside says, "I love a steady pace." Good man, Steve. Looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. Emma loves to ask lots of questions. Paul Davis, reluctant to speak up, especially in large groups. So I am going to put him on the spot in a minute, but we'll do that in a minute, Paul. I have warned him. Duncan, big picture, can interrupt because I already get in and want to progress the conversation and also need to know why as a yellow blue. Exactly right. You start to see these things, and you start to see these indicators. This should take the fear away of interacting with any other human being. Most people, if they're happy and healthy and on the right track, they just want to grow the same way you do. So I start to understand people. it becomes very, very, very interesting when you start to appreciate each personality style. Jane says, I become agitated when my sister-in-law started yelling at me this week. There you go, Jane. There's a yellow blue. There it is. Because it's literally just part of your personality style. But when we start to look at each human being like this, we start to be more forgiving, more accepting, more grateful, and we start to appreciate that everyone's got their own perspectives. And we can be a bit more kind, right, to ourselves and to other people when we start to understand communication styles. What makes it difficult to have a difficult conversation, or indeed have a challenging conversation, something that might lead to conflict? What makes it difficult to speak up is a really great question to ask yourself. And it is just picked one answer. Oh, I just picked one answer here out of many, many, many that we have. Reds have said already, don't want to be wrong. Don't like to be wrong because they're very task orientated and let's go, go, go. Depending on your second color, that would come into each of these. With the greens, if they don't know a better way, they might not say anything. They might hang back and take their time. And I did smile to myself when I made the yellow and the blue here because it totally spoke to me as a younger man. Yellows don't like confrontation and blues really don't like confrontation. And actually, if you have high percentages in both of those areas, you'll start to recognize that very, very quickly about yourself. Jane says that makes me feel better that I lost my shit. It's because I'm blue. Yeah, well, absolutely, Jane. Yellow, blue. Very, very interesting to start to understand each of ourselves here. And remember, this is not a definition. We're not putting you in a box. I worked with a yellow blue at a Formula One team recently, and he came and spoke to me, and he said, "Yeah, I don't actually feel this about myself." And I said, "Okay, tell me a bit more." And he told me about how he'd been brought up to not worry about confrontation in any way, shape, or form, or any kind of challenge. And I said, "Well, that's part of your deeper character then." However, lots and lots of people with your personality style would fit into these areas, but actually you don't because of your upbringing and the other things that you've taken into account. So again, it just becomes really, really good for us to be able to start to have these excellent conversations with people when we start to understand. And just imagine if you knew every single person's e-colors in your family, in your workforce, across the whole world. Let's go big. But just imagine if you knew every single person and you knew how to interact with them in a way that they needed to hear, that you could actually get the best out of yourself and get the best out of others. The chat box is alive and it's absolutely wonderful. So Laura Senior says, for me as a red yellow, I'm okay with difficult conversations as long as we reach a resolution. Absolutely. Get to the point for a top color red for sure. So let's just think about this. If we're talking about kindness and we're talking about ways that we can actually interact with people. Imagine everyone you meet is grieving something. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. Well, we're talking about being kind, understanding others. There are 5 stages to grief. You do not find that you go through them all perfectly. However, I'm going to give you an example. If you understand that most people are grieving something, it could be the loss of a loved one, it could be a loss of a job, it could be a loss of a career, it could be a loss of anything really. But let's just imagine many people are feeling a loss about something. It becomes a lot easier for us to understand this process. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. Okay. And I said to you earlier about my definition of love is total acceptance. And I totally accept every e-color combination, every human being, because they all bring something, they all bring some value. Bless you. But we need to understand these 5 stages. Now, I'm going to give you the easiest way that I can describe it. Think about an alcoholic walking into Alcoholics Anonymous, or before they walk into Alcoholics Anonymous. Denial. I'm not an alcoholic. What are you talking about? Anger would be, put the clean version, shut up, leave me alone. I'm not an alcoholic, right? That's anger. Bargaining would be, well, I only have 2 bottles of wine a night. Okay, that's a bit of bargaining there, trying to sort of justify. Sadness, depression would be, oh, yeah, maybe I have got a problem. And then acceptance would be walking into Alcoholics Anonymous and saying, hi, my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic. And then you're ready to be able to grow and do something new and change and develop, but only when you get to acceptance. So if we assume, if we find someone that's in denial or angry or bargaining or sad or fearful, if we find someone in any one of those areas in our lives, we start to get to a place where we can be more kind, more forgiving, and we can all work towards getting to acceptance of ourselves based on our e-colors and our life remixed work and everything else. We can get to acceptance. We can also get to acceptance of ourselves and other people. And when we do that, it's very, very powerful because then it's an opportunity to grow. And then we start to really appreciate, which is what we spoke about last week with gratitude. Think for yourself, okay? Think for yourself on this one. Remember, please remember, this is a friendly universe when your thoughts and feelings are on track. And that's the challenge for all of us. Now, Napoleon Hill also wrote another book called The Master Key to Riches, okay? Riches, in this case, money, but also, wealth, true wealth lays within. It's not really anything to do with money, the true definition of wealth. The Master Key to Riches. Let's go. Let's fire through these, and I'm going to put a little question up at the end, and then we can decide where we sit, how close we are to actually being truly wealthy in today's world. So Napoleon Hill wrote this book. He studied 500 millionaires for 25 years, and he put it all into Think and Grow Rich. That's where we get that list of those 6 major fears, and then we understand that multimillionaires manage these fears so that they can become successful. I highly recommend, if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, you go and read it. It's 100 years old, so it's written in quite old language, but the human spirit is the same. He sold 20 million books over 50 years. What a legacy! And he inspired legends like Bob Proctor, many others to survive and thrive and grow. Millions more as well. Yeah, what a guy! What a guy! So let's keep on that mission together. So he also wrote this Master Key to Riches. 12 factors that you need to take care of if you'd like to be wealthy in every area of your life. So no fear, managing any fear, building belief and confidence. So let's look at the 12 factors. A positive mental attitude on all things at all times. Being happy. It's not based on what you have or what you don't have. It's based solely on what you're thinking. So what are you thinking right now is going to be directly correlated to your happiness. When you have a positive mental attitude, you're going to attract more family, friendship, clients, and ultimately money and success. Positive mental attitude does attract, absolutely, and it attracts the right people. Other people that don't have a positive mental attitude tend to start to leave you alone when you're really positive, which is quite interesting. Positive people work together collaboratively in a friendly cooperation. And that's a great riches to have in your life when you work in a collaboration of people that are like-minded. Create that health conscious. Think about your health, not illness or dis-ease. Eat well. Avoid the 4 white devils: sugar, salt, flour, and dairy, and alcohol in my case as well. Very, very interesting to start to live well and live differently. Eat to live rather than live to eat, and have a balanced exercise regime. This is a quote, I believe, from Robin Sharma. It says, make time for exercise or you'll probably have to make time for dis-ease, which is a very powerful quote. I'm going to put all of these 12 up at the end of the screen, so don't worry about keeping up with them, but we'll put all 12 up and then we can decide how many we're actually living to today. So harmony in all human relationships. Start with your own inner voice, like I said to you, and be kind to yourself. Be careful how you speak. This is called auto-suggestion. Be careful how you speak because you are listening. Your subconscious mind is listening to what you're saying. So are you talking positively about yourself or are you talking negatively about yourself? Think about yours and others' e-colors and personality styles. Okay, appreciate everybody for what they bring to the table because everyone is doing the best they can with the information they have right now. And if you think about that, I've said that to a few coaching clients recently, and it's really been a game changer for a few of them. If we can accept this, we can actually get to a point where we're in a nice, happy universe, and we tend to attract more happiness and more opportunities. Because true wealth is that inside job. It's the start point. Most want to succeed without doing the inner work first. Some people will back away from e-colors or back away from life remix coaching and stuff like that because they don't want to look within. But actually, if you look within, you're going to get a much, much better result as a start point. Freedom from fear. If you have fear, you're not free to live and love your life. And you need to analyze your fears there as well. The six major fears, like we said: poverty, criticism, ill health. Oh, why is that not carried on? Loss of love. Um, just letting someone else in. Loss of love, fear of old age, fear of death. The six major fears, they can get to all of us. This book here actually really helped Emma. It's called The Expansion Game. And it's a very, very interesting piece of work about how you can actually, if you have a fear, you can actually make it completely irrational, take it as far as you possibly can into the almost ridiculous, nth degree of fear, and then just bring it back the whole other way and start to think about it in a totally different way, in a more positive way, and then just find your balance, your equilibria in the middle there. So Emma got some really good value out of that book, particularly as a top color green around managing fears. So it's a really good shout, and it's a good way to manage these things. The hope of achievement. Bob very kindly said that Life Remix wouldn't have been possible without me making a critical decision at the lowest point of my life. Our results are the culmination of the decisions we make or don't make. Making no decision is also a decision. For anyone looking for hope, this book offers an abundance of it. So thank you to Bob, RIP. Hope is an important thing. Hope and expectation are beautiful things when used positively. Okay, the capacity for faith and belief. Very key. Okay. Faith is a connecting factor between us and the universe that's going on around us. It's the most powerful force. It's the basis of miracles. It cannot be explained by logic or science. If you choose to have faith in yourself and in others in the process of growth, you'll start to see more positive results, because everything does come to you when you're ready for it. You must grow faith. It's like a muscle. Faith, belief, confidence, whatever you want to call it, in yourself first. That has to be the key. If you don't do that for yourself, then you're sending a message that essentially you're not worthy. Okay, willingness to share your blessings. Givers Gain. There's a great book by Adam Grant all about. It's called Give and Take. It's all about giving and giving, but giving from a solid foundation, not being a doormat. Very, very important. Givers Gain is a big, big thing. Share your blessings. Okay, share your gift. Identify it. Take your action. You have a choice always to create or disintegrate. Okay. It's a very important thing. Create or disintegrate. You have a choice always. What is your thinking right now? If you're ignoring this information or just going, oh, it's all right, that's interesting, but then that's disintegration. You're not necessarily buying into your own growth. Whereas actually, if you create, you're going to be in a more positive environment, and you're going to grow as a human being. So what can you give? Think about what you can give and work it out. You will receive everything you ask from multiple sources when you start to work out what you can give. It's a positive place to be. It brings people to you, not to be a doormat, but certainly to be a positive human being and be in that growth mindset. Have a labour of love. Find out what you love doing and get busy performing it. Make sure you're good at it, of course, and so that you can add value and charge a fair price for what you do. It's the highest form of human expression. Sharing a gift, giving service, moving outside of a comfort zone, doing something good is what you get paid for. If you do it with joy and positive mental attitude, money is ultimately the result in the quantity that you decide to accept. Have an open mind, like we said on last week's call. Share gratitude to all. Realize observation is power and judgment is weakness. If you catch yourself judging, you need to hit a little pause button on that as quickly as possible. Be open-minded, have peace of mind, be creative, and you start to be in a positive place. I'm not a big meditator, but I do little mini meditations, a couple of minutes here and there. Just sit quietly for a moment, just relax. I call it the dot. Bob used to say to me, make a little dot across from your desk and just focus on it for a couple of minutes. Clear the mind, clear the screen, clear everything, and just focus on the dot for a minute or two. And the more you do that, the more you build it up, and the stronger you can get being present and not worrying about whatever else is going on in the world. Have self-discipline, okay? It's very important. Master of your soul, captain of your fate, self-discipline. My self-discipline started with not drinking alcohol 20 years ago. The highest form of self-discipline could be becoming a leader and remaining really humble. Yeah, not letting your ego take over, but actually being a humble leader. How can I help my team to grow and be better? Think about your e-colors and your personality styles. Think about understanding all people at all times. understanding that personality and character in your e-colors premium report and in the sessions we share, and master appreciation and supporting one another based on e-colors gives you a real head start in life, certainly. And the last one, of course, money, economic security. Once you've mastered all of those 12 things, money will flow to you for sure. Okay. But you've got to be conditioned for the acceptance of it. You must believe in yourself and your ideas and value and in the service that you provide. Okay. So ask yourself, what kind of mindset do you have? Do you have a poor mindset or a wealthy mindset? You need to work on this always. Okay, I smile, don't I, about if you were born to Buddhist multimillionaires, you might have the rich mindset from a young age. Most of us weren't. So actually, let's start to think about which sort of mindset we have. And some of us might be bouncing between each of these at different times. So look at this list. That was the list of the 12 I just said. Okay. How many of you do you think can say, well, I've got all 12 of those? Or if you haven't got all 12, and by the way, let's be clear, I doubt many of us have. How many do you think you do have? Take a stab in the chat box. How many do you think you've got? I would suggest that I am on 12 of these, and I would suggest that it's a continuous journey. How many have you got? Is it 1, 3, 5, 10? How many do you think you have mastered? Tanya, 5. Brilliant. Thank you, Tanya. Chris, 8. Paul, 3 or 4-ish. Absolutely. Nula, 11. Brilliant. But again, there's a great bit in Think and Grow Rich where he starts to talk about every human being's mind ripens at a different time. So therefore, we're all on a different journey. It could be age, it could be the way we're brought up, it could be what we've learned, what we studied. It could have been any of these things. But if we start to actually look at these 12 and we understand that this is the goal to be 12 out of 12, then we know what we need to do in order to be able to work at it. So you've got your own time for self-reflection. Great chat box there. Really important that you're all sharing. Laura 6, James 5, Andy 7, Duncan 7, wonderful. Marie 4, brilliant. Look, Steve 8. This is the goal, people. This is what we must be working for as human beings. And if we can tick each one of them, and by the way, we might tick it and then we might get dragged back by our subconscious mind. But actually, if we can keep working on each of these, we start to realize that we can improve as human beings. And the big key to this, I have to say, the big key to this is a lot of people don't really get self-realization or self-understanding until they're on their rocking chair or beyond. So I'm massively grateful to every one of you being on this journey together so that we can start to understand that if we can work on this now, as we're in, well, me 54, but lots of other people at different ages, we can start to work on this stuff now. We're going to be, way ahead of the game as we continue to go through our lives. So really important graphic. Let's keep working on it. Let's keep understanding where we are because we have a real opportunity here to grow as human beings. And as please don't take my word for it. A lot of this I've grabbed from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill still studied 500 millionaires for 25 years and found common threads throughout them all. And this is a great depiction of it. So keep going in what you're doing. Very important. Great shares. Look, forgive, accept, and be grateful. Okay. Those are 3 things that I start with my coaching clients, and it's a personal initiative. Okay. Forgive everyone, everything. Start with yourself. Accept everyone as they are and start with yourself. And be grateful to everyone and start with yourself. You see the common theme here, right? You have to start with yourself. If you start with yourself, you start to get a whole different perspective on life. Then you can start to let that go out to other people, like the ripple effect. These are all the antidotes to fear, and they start to build belief, faith, confidence, like I've said. When we start to leverage that diversity of thought, we get the top of the mountain, appreciation and understanding everyone around us, including ourselves. But let's be clear, some people will start with doubt and resistance and move their way up that mountain. That's also fine. Everyone's on their own journey, like I said. Decide what you're going to do. Believe that you can do it. Take action towards what you want to do and make positive habits and continue to create your vision in your mind so that you start to achieve what you would like to achieve. Very, very, very important thing about life. Procrastination, indifference, laziness will all be taken away by deciding, taking action, believing you're good, and making positive habits. Remember, leave everyone and every person you interact with today with the impression of increase for you being there, and they will want you to be there again. Okay? Very, very important. When you turn up, add some value. Where can I add value? Look for the value adding opportunity. Don't take negative energy in there. If you're concerned about something, raise it and then offer a solution, and leave every person with the impression of increase for you being there. You will start to see huge results in whatever your chosen vocation is and what you're doing. So I'd like to say thank you very much for listening to that. And I'm going to I'll come off the screen there and I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to see all your lovely faces. Thank you for the chat box. It was brilliant chat going on in there. Really, really valuable. I'd like to just go first to Paul Davis. Paul, are you there? Where is he?
Yep. Just worked
Hi,
out
Paul. Hi, Paul. Greetings.
Right.
Yeah, fan off. I know it's hot in Thailand.
It's raining outside as well, so you might hear a bit of that.
That's fine. Thank you for being here. So you're in Thailand at the moment, but you're based out of Dubai. And we saw you in Dubai recently for dinner, didn't we? And your e-colors are
blue over red.
Yeah, and with a third color quite close of green, right?
Green is very close. Red and green are very close.
Okay.
Yellow's not so close.
Yellow's a bit lower. And can you share a little bit about fear and the discussion we had in Dubai recently?
Yeah. So for me, fear, criticism is probably the highest level of fear that I've had. Probably not always accepted that I've had that until more recently over the last couple of years. And it's led me to kind of inaction in a lot of areas. I think the conversation we were having was about me getting out there. You know, I started a business beginning this year with my wife. She's excellent at getting out, talking to people, meeting to people, and sort of really getting into action from that side. My yellow socializer is low, so that's where my inaction comes from. The conversation we were kind of having really was about, getting out the way of myself, which was nicely put in there earlier, and move into action, sort of really understand, that, it's none of my business what other people think of me. And this week, whilst I've been here in Thailand, I've sort of been working towards different areas, different things. One of them is moving into action, and I've sort of upgraded my online content to sort of video content of myself, recording myself, listening to myself, which has been therapy in itself.
I was going to say, in all honesty, how did you find that? Because you were very, very, very uncomfortable with that one.
I felt like a dick, to be honest with you, when I first started recording myself. But I'm alone, and I'm alone in the house, so it's okay. But then I kind of got comfortable with it. I was trying to think about what I was saying. I was pacing up and down the room, but I spent a lot of time looking in the mirror as well, which was really interesting. But the more and more takes I did of doing stuff, listening to myself back, looking at myself, I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, I don't sound too bad. I do actually know what I'm talking about. So it made it a little easier. I did almost delete it before it was scheduled, when it was scheduled to go out.
That's quite funny.
which is typical, and I'd say I've probably done that in the past. I have a fear of criticism, and interestingly enough, because I'm blue-red, I really don't like confrontation, but also don't like being wrong, or I don't want to be wrong, which is a really sort of hard thing to kind of battle and challenge.
Yeah. That's a really interesting take, Paul. And I wanted to invite you to speak in front of a group, because that's another thing that you're not always 100% comfortable with at times. Is that fair?
No, it's not. I was just thinking actually when you was talking there about the fear and all the rest of it, and I've got another problem where I've always had the fear of saying no, and I've been trying to get the last 4 or 5 years. I've been really working to say no to everything, whereas before I'd say yes. Saying yes to everything put me in positions that I really didn't want to be in, public speaking being one of them. But I got through it because I thought, well, I've said I'm going to do it now, so I've got to do it. I want to see it through. That's kind of who I am as well. It's another part of my tendencies. So I've struggled through it, but it's caused a lot of anxiety, which I think I've probably tried mask more than I should do in
Well,
the
that's right,
past.
and it's good to be honest with you. And I think the thing with the e-colors and Life Remix and everything is being honest with yourself first. And it's easy for a blue, yellow, yellow, blue to feel overwhelmed at different times. If you've got a top color of either of those percentages, and yeah, if you take on too much, you can be a people pleaser, and that can cause problems in itself as well. So again, yeah,
That's
certainly we've all got stuff to learn, and that's an absolutely great share. And Paul, you're now a practitioner with e-colors as well, right?
Yes, yeah, practitioner of e-colors. That's all going again at my pace. Another thing that I think we were talking about when we was in Dubai. And yeah, it's doing the practitioner has been really, really useful because it's meant that I've dived into it a lot more than perhaps I might have otherwise done, which has given me a lot of time for self-reflection to really understand that and to see and to really see the power of it and what that can do. And I think it's definitely helping me, having been on a bit of a self-discovery for the last 4 or 5 years. It's definitely sort of helped me start to understand myself. I've always had an appreciation for other people's. Being a blue, I like to relate. So I always want to find something in common, and I understand that everyone's different, but this has really given me a different kind of perspective on that,
Brilliant.
which I think has helped, especially when it comes to communication and areas like that.
Paul, you're a superstar. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I know it's not easy to talk about fear and actually put yourself out there, but I really appreciate you sharing that. And the reason I asked you to do that this morning because I've seen some of your videos go out, and you did make me smile when you said that just before you let your first video go, you were thinking about deleting it because you were like, oh no.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's
yeah,
just part of the fear. That's part of it, right? But actually showing up, the world wants you to show up. Each and every one of you, the world wants you to show up. Andy
yeah.
said there that it gets much easier. So yes, it does. And so it's great that you've shared that. Thank you, Paul. Anyone else like to share
Yes.
anything about fear and overcoming fear? I'll be happy to listen, or we can discuss or talk about any questions. Lewis, would you like to share something while we let anyone else, if anyone else wants to say anything?
Yeah, well, first of all, hi to everybody. I think it's been a really interesting session. I was actually reflecting back when we're talking about fear. In 2002, I found myself lying on the floor thinking I was dying.
Mm.
And one of the things that really occurred to me is I really did not like the legacy I was thinking I was about to leave. And so I got another chance. And I think if the alternative is lying on the floor thinking you're dying or listening to you for an hour, Mark, I'll take the listening to you.
Well, I'm pleased you were here, Lewis. Thanks for sharing. And
But I do. I think it's those are really. It was a big eye opener for me, and you really want to discover your fears through this kind of session as opposed to staring it right in the face.
Well, yeah, and I would suggest the same thing for me when I collapsed that day as well. And Lewis, I've heard you say on practitioner calls, I'm not sure you've really said this on a public call, but about the fact that you're comfortable, you want to continue coaching and helping people until your last breaths on this planet, and that's something you're very comfortable with. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, as I say, I think it's a gift. One of my Nigerian friends always tell me, when you're blessed, you have a duty to bless others. And I think that anybody who's involved in whatever form of helping people, which my mother used to remind me, I come from a long line of helpers for many generations. I think it's something that if you're happy doing it, then why not continue to do it? That's my goal, is to do this as long as I'm alive, basically.
Oh, good on you, Lewis. Me too. Me too. Many of you are having to drop off because of other calls. I appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. And please do watch back the recordings because this stuff, repetition is mastery. It's very, very powerful. Anyone else like to share anything? You want to put your hand up or give me a shout or anything?
Hi, Mark.
Who's that?
Stephen.
Steve. Steve, welcome back from holiday.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I might as well share something. Why not? In terms of fear, my biggest one is criticism, getting it wrong, all that kind of stuff. What I do find when I don't have time to think about it and I just do it, and then my red comes into play. For people that don't know me, my background in the fire service, it's normally okay. It normally ends up being okay. For me, if I've got time to think, and I say this weird one, is it ironic? I like slow paced stuff.
Hmm.
But then when I have time to think about stuff, my fear starts to creep in. And then I just got to remember those times I've jumped out of airplanes at 15,000 feet and stuff. And actually, the chute did actually deploy. So it was okay. And it's trying to get over yourself, as you said in here. And remember those times when I've had big fear, but I didn't have time to think about it. I just had to get on with it. And actually, it's been okay. And I learned and I grew from it.
Yeah.
So it's trying to remember back to those times to, it's going to be okay. Just make the decision.
Yeah.
And I let the fear, as you know, Mark, I still let that fear get in when I've got too much time to overthink things. So yeah, it's trying to find that balance. But my journey's all been about awareness. I've got much more awareness now, and there are times I just go, you know what, fuck it, I'll do it. And it's worked out okay. So just thought I'd share that.
And I said to you, didn't I, recently about coming back from you've just come back from a lovely holiday, and I said to you, it's possible for you to feel like that all of the time. Some people feel that when they're in work time they have to be stressed, and when they're on holiday they can sort of release the stress. But actually, it's possible for you to have that great feeling all of the time, and I think that's key.
I've come back from holiday and I've walked into, I think, 4 grievances at work.
Oh.
Right. And in my old self would have really been overwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
But I've actually gone, you know what? Bring it on. Let's see what happens. Maybe this is what my business needs. It might mean people need to leave the business, etc., etc. But that is the universe working in a really, really sort of weird way. And I've said to HR, let's just head on. Let's go for it. With no fear.
Yeah.
So that's where I've just gone, do you know what? Let's just do it. If I just think too much about it, it'll become the fear will creep in.
Yeah, what a great observation, Steve. Lots of people relating to that, mate. So yeah, great shout, Steve. Thanks for sharing. I look forward to seeing you in a week or so as well, one to one. Thank you, mate. Nuala, you got your hand up.
Yes. So what I wanted to say, fear does definitely have a place because it's around us sensing a danger. But what often happens is that we don't name the source of that danger, and we don't actually look at it and say, is it something that I am exacerbating and increasing and growing arms and legs and tentacles? But when I can name it, then I can actually break it down and go, well, what do I do with this? How do I turn it from fear into something that is foundational that I can grow from? So that's just my 5 cents.
100%. And look, I'm not going to say that I'm completely free from fear. There might be a little moment sometimes where I'm like, but the point is I have a pause button on my wrist. I can actually feel that fear and just go, right, okay, what actions do I need to take to actually sort this problem out? A lot of us, especially if we have a lot of high blue percentage, we can sit and dwell and worry on things a lot unless we manage them. And that's part of growth, isn't it? It's part of like moving past, feel the fear and do it anyway, essentially. But yeah, great share, Nuala. Thank you for that. And yeah, spot on. Yeah, definitely. Fear has a place, but not holding on to it for a long period of time, because it will stop us. So yeah, great share, Nuala. Thank you. Anyone else like to go before Frankie gets his walk? Okay then, another successful week. I shall send out the links. I'll send out the fulfillment grid. I shall love you and leave you, but it's so great to see so many of you, and love to everyone watching these back. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thanks.